Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into one of the most dangerous, glitches in the human brain. It's been blamed for everything from the sinking of the Titanic to the Chernobyl disaster. We're talking about overconfidence and why we're so often positive we're right, even when we are spectacularly, disastrously wrong.
In this whole story, it all starts on a chaotic trading floor in Singapore. It starts with one junior trader, one secret account, and a mistake so small you'd barely notice it, until it brought a 233-year-old bank completely to its knees. So picture this, it's 1992. We've got this young, super ambitious trader, Nick Leeson. He makes a fateful decision. One of his team members loses $40,000, and instead of reporting it, Nick decides to cover it up. He shoves the loss into this obscure little error account, number 8888, believe it or not, thinking, hey, no big deal, I'll just win it back before anyone's the wiser. So he places this massive bet, convinced Japan's stock market is about to shoot up. But it doesn't. It falls. And as it falls, what does Leeson do? Exactly what any overconfident gambler does. He doubles down. And then he doubles down again. And pretty soon, that $40,000 hole, yeah, it's a $3 million crater. But then, and you're not going to believe this, his luck actually turns. The market rebounds, and boom, just like that, he's back in the black. He's not just out of the hole, he's a hero. And this, right here, this is the most important part. That win didn't teach him to be careful. Oh no, it taught him he was invincible. It convinced him he was smarter than the market itself. His confidence just went into total overdrive.
Okay, it's so easy to sit here and listen to Nick Leeson's story and think, wow, what an idiot. I would never do that. But here's the thing. This little bug, this tendency to think we're better than we are, it's like a fundamental glitch in our human operating system, and it affects every single one of us. Just think about driving, for instance. There's this classic study where they asked people a simple question, and a staggering 93% of them said they were better than average drivers. Now, you don't have to be a math whiz to realize that's just not possible, right? We can't all be better than average. It just doesn't work that way.
All right, let's try a little test right now, you and me. True or false? There are more stars in the Milky Way galaxy than there are trees on Earth. Go on, think about it for a second. Get an answer in your head.
Okay, you got it? Now for the really important part. It's not just about what you answered, it's about how sure you are. Are we talking 50-50, 75% sure? Are you 100% positive you've got this? Lock in that number in your head.
The answer is false. And honestly, it's not even close. Scientists estimate there are something like 3 trillion trees on Earth. Trillion, with a T. And stars in the Milky Way? A mere 200 billion. So, were you right? And more importantly, how sure were you? Did your confidence actually match up with reality?
Hey, if you were super confident and totally wrong, don't feel bad. You are in very, very good company. Research shows this huge gap all the time. I mean, get this. In one study, people who said they were 91 to 100% sure, they were actually right only 51% of the time. That is barely better than flipping a coin. It's wild.
So this huge disconnect between how much you think you know and how much you actually know, it has a name. It's called poor calibration. And it leads to the big question, right? Why are we so bad at this? What is going on inside our skulls? Okay, so you've probably seen this meme online, right? The one on the left, people call it Mount Stupid. It kind of suggests that when you learn a little, your confidence shoots through the roof before crashing down. But the real science behind the Dunning-Kruger effect, that's on the right, it's a bit more nuanced. It's really that beginners, novices, are just terrible at judging their own skill. They don't know enough to even know what they don't know. Meanwhile, the real experts, they can sometimes be a little underconfident because they know just how much there is to know. But here's the kicker. It's not just about being a novice. Sometimes overconfidence creeps in for the exact opposite reason, when our brains just get completely overwhelmed with too much information. And there's no more tragic example of this than the Space Shuttle Challenger disaster back in 1986. So the night before that launch, engineers were sounding the alarm. They were really worried about how the cold weather would affect the rocket's O-rings, but the NASA managers, they were just swamped. They were looking at 13 different charts, tons of conflicting data, just a total mess of information. It's what scientists call cognitive load. Their brains were overloaded, and because they were so overwhelmed by the noise, they couldn't see the one clear signal of danger. So they made a fatal, overconfident call, go for launch.
Okay, hold on. If being overconfident can bankrupt banks and cause horrible disasters, then why on earth are we wired for it? You'd think evolution would have gotten rid of this bug by now, right? Well, it's a paradox, because it turns out that being confident, even when you're flat out wrong, can actually have some pretty big upsides.
And that's where the social power of confidence comes in. Think about it from an evolutionary standpoint. Our ancestors had to make quick decisions about who to follow, and the person who acted certain, even if they were wrong, was often a better bet than the person who was wishy-washy. So we're literally hardwired to see confidence as confidence. We vote for confident leaders. We listen to their ideas. And check this out. Brain scans show that when we hear confident advice, the reward centers in our brain literally light up. We like it.
And that brings us right back to Nick Leeson. The man was a master at projecting confidence. While he was secretly losing hundreds of millions, what did his bosses see? A rock star trader making them a fortune. They threw parties for him, they promoted him, and when he came to them and said, "I need more money to make even bigger bets, we're talking hundreds of millions of dollars here," they just handed it over. No questions asked.
So we've seen how it all came crashing down for Leeson. But the real lesson here, the thing we really need to get, is the environment that let his overconfidence just spiral out of control. See, the stock market isn't a simple place. It's chaotic. And the feedback you get is, well, it's a total miss.
Let's break that down. Think about a game like chess. That's a clear environment. You make a good move, you get a good result. You make a bad move, you get punished instantly. The feedback is crystal clear. But the stock market? That's a noisy environment. You can make a brilliant, well-researched trade and lose money because of some random event. Or you can make a dumb, impulsive bet and get lucky. For Leeson and for his bosses, it was impossible to tell, was this guy a genius or was he just on a lucky streak? And then came the ultimate random event, the thing no one could predict. On January 17, 1995, a massive earthquake hits Kobe, Japan. The market doesn't just dip, it absolutely craters, and Leeson's entire house of cards just disintegrates. By the time the dust settled, he had lost the equivalent of $2.8 billion in today's money. He went on the run, and just days later, Barings Bank, an institution that had been around since 1762, was gone. So after all that, how do we avoid falling into the same trap in our own lives? Well, the research points to 3 really simple, powerful strategies. Number 1, keep score. Actually track your predictions and see how often you're right. 2, think in probabilities. Stop saying, "I'm certain." Start saying, "I'm about 70% confident." And 3, this might be the most important one, go find people who disagree with you and actually listen to their best arguments. Because at the end of the day, being genuinely smart isn't about knowing everything. It's not about being certain all the time. Real wisdom, that comes from knowing what you don't know. It's about having a really clear-eyed view of the limits of your own certainty. And that, well, that's something you can actually be confident about.